Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I am Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the top headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks to his Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim ahead of the ASEAN summit. The Indian leader says he is looking forward to joining the summit virtually to deepen New Delhi's strategic partnership with Southeast Asia. The Indian Air Force takes to Spanish skies, joining a 5-nation air combat exercise to hone aerial prowess, exchange tactics and bolster defence ties with friendly nations. The Chinese Communist Party wraps up a key plenary session in Beijing. The Xi Jinping-led official gathering vows to fortify national security and push harder for technological self-reliance. Drones target Khartoum International Airport for a third straight day as fierce clashes between the army and paramilitary RSF grind on. And European aerospace firms Airbus, Thales and Leonardo unveil a deal to join forces in satellite manufacturing. This as Elon Musk's Starlink records massive growth in the European aerospace market. India has once again called out Pakistan for its hypocrisy at the United Nations. This time, Pakistan was rebuked at the World Forum for attempting to legitimize cross-border terrorism under the guise of a freedom struggle. Speaking at an interactive dialogue at the UN, Pakistan's representative said that nations should distinguish between terrorism and the exercise of the legitimate right of the people to resist foreign occupation. The Pakistani representative also tried to misinterpret international law during the session. He falsely claimed, quote unquote, that the distinction between terrorism and freedom struggle is duly observed in international law. But this was debunked by the Indian side. Replying to Pakistan's representative, Raghu Puri, India's first secretary at India's permanent mission to the UN, denounced this remark, calling it doublespeak and hypocrisy. Puri described Pakistan as a well-known epicenter of terrorism with established links to multiple attacks across the world targeting innocent civilians.
My delegation condemns yet another futile attempt by a member state to misuse this platform to propagate misinformation and disinformation. The international community stands witness to Pakistan's sponsorship of cross-border terrorism and its use of terrorism as a tool of state policy directed against India. Peddling lies and making false equivalences will not help them achieve their goals, whatever they may be. I reiterate that the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir was, is, and will always remain an integral part of India. And the only unresolved issue is the vacation by Pakistan of illegally occupied parts of Indian territory of Jammu and Kashmir.
Puri defended Operation Sindoor, which India launched in May this year, targeting terrorist bases in Pakistan. He urged Islamabad to stop preaching sermons at the UN and look at its own record, adding that Pakistan must cease its cross-border attacks that have disproportionately targeted civilians.
The brutal targeted attacks carried out by Pakistani trade terrorists, which claimed the lives of 26 innocent civilians in Pahalgam on 22nd April 2025, have not been forgotten by the world. India's legitimate right to defend itself was measured and non-escalatory in order to protect our people against terrorism and bring the organizers and perpetrators to justice, as was articulated in the UN Security Council's press statement that was released condemning this very attack. In contrast, Pakistan deliberately targeted our borders, villages, resulting in civilian deaths, including that of children. Pakistan must look itself in the mirror, stop preaching sermons at this forum, and act to protect children within its own borders and stop targeting women and children across the borders.
The Indian diplomat accused Pakistan of exploiting claims of Islamophobia to cover up its own abuses, adding that it continues to rank among the worst human rights offenders.
Its ethnic and religious minorities, its genocide of its own civilians in 71 in erstwhile East Pakistan, its interference in Afghanistan leading to displacement and killing of people, and its use of terrorism as state policy exposes its duplicity and futile attempts to take cover of Islamophobia to hide its atrocities. Pakistan's decade-old institutionalized persecution of Hindu, Christian, and Ahmadiyya minority communities with impunity in the name of religion continues unabated and is yet another example of its double standards.
For nearly 2 decades, negotiations on the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism proposed by India have stalled. This is due to objections from Pakistan and a small group of countries seeking to categorize certain terrorist groups as freedom fighters. In fact, India has time and again also reiterated that there can be no justification under any law or ideology for the use of terror as a political tool. Moving on. India is planning to tighten its artificial intelligence rules to curb the growing threat of deepfakes and misinformation. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has proposed the key changes to the IT Rules 2021, focusing on stricter labelling, traceability and accountability for AI-generated content. According to the draft amendments, the changes aim to ensure that AI-generated content is clearly labelled and identifiable by the public. Officials said the move was necessary as synthetic media, including fake videos, audio clips and images, have recently gone viral, causing confusion and damaged reputations. These proposed amendments to the IT Rules 2021 introduce a clear definition of synthetically generated information, meaning any content created or altered using computer resources in a way that appears authentic. Under the draft, social media platforms and AI firms such as Meta, X, Google and OpenAI will have to ensure visible labelling or audible notices on all AI-generated media. The label must also cover at least 10% of a visual display or the first 10% of an audio clip. Platforms will also be required to ask users whether their uploaded content is AI-generated and use reasonable technical checks to verify these declarations. Under the revised framework, any authorised official seeking content removal will now be required to provide 3 specific details in their notice: the legal basis and statutory provision being invoked, the nature of the unlawful act, and the precise URL, identifier or electronic location of this content. In a briefing note, the IT Ministry said that recent incidents of deepfake videos and synthetic media have shown how generative AI can be weaponized to spread misinformation, manipulate elections, or commit fraud. The Ministry also warned that such content can cause serious harm, from damaging personal reputations to fueling political and communal tensions.
In Parliament, as well as many other fora, people have demanded that something should be done about the deepfakes which are harming society. People using some prominent person's image and creating deepfakes which are then affecting their personal lives, privacy, as well as the various misconceptions in society. So the step we have taken is to make sure that users get to know whether something is synthetic or real. Once users know, they can take a call in democracy. But it's important that users know what is real. That distinction will be led through mandatory data labeling.
The government's move also comes amid a rise in deepfake videos of Bollywood actors, politicians and business leaders. Actress Rashmika Mandanna, Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Alia Bhatt are among those who have been victims of fake videos, where their faces or voices were replaced without consent. Hollywood stars have faced similar issues, with actresses like Natalie Portman and Emma Watson also affected. The proposed rules are part of a wider global push to regulate artificial intelligence. Both the European Union and China have already introduced mandatory labelling for AI-generated content. With the proposed AI amendments, India is moving towards a more accountable and transparent digital ecosystem. While the rules are still under consultation, they reflect the government's growing urgency to curb the misuse of AI and the spread of deepfakes before they cause greater social or political harm. We now turn to the Korean Peninsula, where South Korea is preparing to deploy what's being called its monster missile. At the end of this year, South Korea says it will begin deploying the hyunmoo 5, its largest and most powerful ballistic missile yet. South Korean media has dubbed it the monster missile. It weighs 36 tons and is capable of carrying an 8-ton bunker buster warhead. The missile is designed to strike deep underground at the kind of fortified shelters where an adversary may be wanting to take cover in war. Its range reportedly stretches up to 5,000 kilometres. It means, on paper, the supposed monster missile could reach anywhere in North Korea and far beyond. It's a conventional missile and not nuclear, but its destructive power, precision and mobility make it one of the most formidable weapons in Seoul's arsenal. South Korea's defence minister says the country needs a considerable number of these missiles to achieve what he called a balance of terror.
South Korea is a member of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty that cannot own nuclear arms. I firmly believe we should possess a considerable amount of hyunmoo 5 monster missiles to achieve a balance of terror.
The hyunmoo 5 missile was conceived in 2010 after a suspected North Korean attack sank a South Korean warship, killing at least 46 people. For years, Washington's restrictions capped Seoul's missile payloads, but in 2017, US President Donald Trump lifted a warhead weight limit on Seoul after Pyongyang tested a hydrogen bomb. Since then, South Korea has been building a missile force that it says is not just offensive, but also a deterrent. hyunmoo 5 is reported to be a part of the same arsenal of deterrence. The timing of the missile's rollout is no accident. Earlier this month, North Korea showcased its own new intercontinental ballistic missile during a massive military parade, claiming it could reach the US mainland. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un continues to brush aside South Korea's latest peace overtures, despite repeated calls for dialogue from Seoul.
Since North Korea is outright refusing any dialogue or contact, inter-Korean communication, dialogue and cooperation are likely to be difficult for the time being.
Earlier this week, South Korea's president pledged larger than expected defence spending to tackle prevailing tensions within the peninsula. This spending boost, the president added, aims to make South Korea the world's fourth largest defence powerhouse.
Being one of the top 4 powerhouses in the defense industry is by no means an impossible dream. The technology and development speed of the private sector are already reaching a global level. Our government will spare no support for the private sector to actively participate in defense reform and play a leading role.
So, as South Korea sharpens its arsenal and the North flexes its new missiles, the peninsula edges closer to a new kind of standoff. One no longer defined by ideology, but by raw military capability. And finally, let's look at the US. Millions of eggs are being recalled across the United States due to a possible salmonella contamination. The US Food and Drug Administration has issued a warning to consumers not to eat, sell or serve certain eggs linked to the Arkansas-based Black Sheep Egg Company, which first initiated a voluntary recall in late September. According to the FDA, the nationwide voluntary recall affects more than 6 million eggs. The action was taken after agency tests detected 7 strains of salmonella at the company's processing centre in Arkansas. The recall was first announced on September the 29th, and it was later expanded in mid-October when another brand, Ken's Hens, also withdrew its 12-count cartons from stores. The FDA said that while no illnesses have been reported so far, consumers should exercise caution because some recalled products may still be on store shelves or in home pantries. In its statement, the company said it is working with the FDA to remove potentially contaminated products from the market and has notified its customers directly. The FDA noted that some of the recalled eggs had been supplied to other companies. They may have been repackaged under different brand labels, making traceability even more complex. But what exactly is salmonella? Well, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, salmonella is a bacteria responsible for around 1.35 million infections in the US every single year, mostly from contaminated food. Symptoms include abdominal pain, fever, headaches, diarrhea, nausea and vomiting. Most people recover within a week without treatment, but young children, older adults and those with weakened immune systems may experience severe illnesses requiring medical care. The CDC said symptoms usually appear within 6 hours or up to 6 days after consuming contaminated food. The recalled eggs were also distributed to retailers and wholesalers in Arkansas, Missouri, Texas, California and Indiana between July the 9th and September the 17th of this year, where they may have been repackaged. The FDA said it is still tracking the broader distribution network and will update the recall list if more affected products are identified. In response to public concern, Black Sheep Egg Company said its available eggs are safe to eat and that it remains committed to food safety. It thanked customers for their support, calling itself a local farmer-owned business. Meanwhile, Ken's Hens advised customers to return recalled eggs for a full refund and said its voluntary recall covered only 6 days of production. The FDA said it will continue to monitor the situation and provide updates if additional products are found to be contaminated. The recall serves as a major food safety warning for millions of US consumers. While the FDA has reported no confirmed illnesses, authorities are urging the public to stay alert and verify egg packaging details. Further updates are expected as federal inspectors continue tracing the supply chain. We will keep you track for everything. That's all we have on the show today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thank you for watching.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.